that, we met to discuss the situation with the central bank, and it was decided that we're going to dismiss all of the members of the board of the central bank. The reason is simple. The issues and the problems and the discord that has been reigning in the central bank, specifically amongst the board members, has been existing for years. And when you take stock and ask yourself, well, are they there looking after the best interests of the country or the best interests of the bank, or are they there to fight and argue amongst personal issues that they might have with each other? Then the scale falls true on the side of the personal discord and not the best interests of the country and the bank. So we have moved and written them letters. The members that St. Martin had proposed some time ago have submitted their resignation. The chairman of the Board of Supervisors and Directors appointed by Curacao at that time by the court has also submitted his resignation. There are only 2 members who are being heard as we speak, which is required. And after they have been heard, if whatever they have to say does not change anybody's mind, they too will be dismissed. And then we will proceed with the process of appointing 7 new members of the board of the central bank. And hopefully that will be beginning to bring some kind of stability, peace and tranquility in the central bank. I also want to share with you the following. The central bank is a bank that has its principal headquarters in Curacao. It has a branch on St. Martin. The branch in St. Martin doesn't represent much. The impact that the central bank, that is jointly owned by Curacao and St. Martin, has on the economy, on the society of Curacao, is humongous. If you take their financial statements, you take a look at it, you will see that operational cost amounts to approximately 60 million guilders. That 60 million guilders is spent in the economy of Curacao, and when we look and see, well, what is spent on St. Martin, it's a drop on a hot plate. It's immoral. As a result of that, I had a meeting with the Prime Minister of Curacao, met also with the Minister of Finance of Curacao, met with certain and brought to their attention this imbalance and mentioned that this imbalance cannot continue. It's unfair, unjust. If there's 40 million guilders that paid out in salaries to people employed by the central bank in Curacao, if you just take what that produces in wage taxes for the government of Curacao, it represents millions every year. And when we see what we get, it's something that does not meet the measures of fairness. One, the central bank division here in St. Martin has to be beefed up. And the agreement that I've managed to reach with the representatives of the government of Curacao, to wit the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance, is if we take that St. Martin owns 20% of the shares of the central bank, then 20% of the operational costs that the central bank have should be allocated to the St. Martin division of the central bank. That would be fair, so that the impact that the central bank have on the economy in Curacao and the impact that the central bank on St. Martin have on St. Martin should be reflected in proportion to the ownership of the shares in the central bank. It means that if 60 million guilders per year is spent on operational costs in the economy of Curacao, and our shares are approximately 20%, then 12 million guilders should be spent on St. Martin. That 12 million guilders will be spent by employing lawyers, accountants, economists, distribution, social help here and there. But that amount will be budgeted for the division in Curacao and would have a tremendous impact on our GDP in St. Martin going forward. Now, this is not something that's going to happen overnight. You got budgets already done and what have you. So the agreement is they will work towards that, but the agreement is that the means and the sources necessary for the division in the central bank on St. Martin to conduct and rid itself of all of the tasks of the central bank, that this division, this department, this branch on St. Martin has to be manned and has to have the resources to be able to take care of all of the tasks of a central bank in St. Martin. It's a big step, an important step, and with it, I think we could say, as far as the central bank is concerned, we will be turning the corner. Thank you very much.
You said this is something that will not happen now. It's something in the future that they're going to work on when it comes to beefing up the central bank on St. Martin and making sure that we get some fair spending here out of the operational cost. If I remember clearly, it's been years now. The government of St. Martin have been requesting the Central Bank of Curacao, namely the president, Mr. Trump, to beef up the central bank on St. Martin. It has not taken place. You said you had meetings there, but what guarantee you have that they will do it now, what they didn't do in the past?
We have not only a verbal agreement, but as we speak, the resolution giving the authority to both countries, because it's a protocol to bring this about. I'm aware of the fact that for years this should have been done, it's not been done. To make certain it's going to be done, it's not going to be left to a verbal agreement. Each minister is going to be requesting each governor by way of a resolution to have the agreement signed, and in the agreement it is stated that that agreement will be presented to the new board of directors of the central bank, as well as to the supervisory board of directors, for them to take the resolution, taking into account that both countries have agreed that this has to take place. Now, I said to you it's not going to be done overnight, and I explained that that wouldn't happen because budgets for 2018 forever has already been established. So you're looking forward for this change to come with the budget which is going to be compiled the next year. In the meantime, there will be efforts striving towards beefing up this branch, but the methodology that we've chosen to be able to get this long desired step is in place. You're welcome.
Andrew Dick of the Daily Herald.
Yes, good morning to the ministers, Minister Boseman. We sent you some questions concerning the police union. They made some comments concerning the management at the police. Did you get a chance to look at the comments made by the unions?
To be honest with you, I'm not really aware of what comments or which unions made what comments. I've been hearing a lot of people speaking. When I met with the unions the last time, there were, as you know, there are 3 unions representing the government workers, which includes the police, and there's a Chamber of Labor Unions. And I asked specifically how we would go about dealing, who should we meet with, and who would talk on behalf of who. That has been pointed out. We also agreed that we would have every 2 months regular meetings to discuss the progress of those things that we have discussed during the meetings. A week, maybe 2 weeks out of the last meeting, I received a request for an urgent meeting to discuss the same points that we just discussed 2 weeks before. Besides the fact that I already had the conference attending, it is not the intention to sit with the unions every week to trash out the same things over and over. We are all working for the same group. So I would appreciate if the unions have any further questions. I cannot wait until the regularly scheduled meetings that they send such to me, and I would try to answer them. It is not an intention to get in a tit for tat via the media with the unions or anyone. And as far as the management of the police force are concerned, the police force has a management team. The chief of police is Mr. Kyle John, and I stand 100% behind Mr. Kyle John as the chief of police. If there are any problems with Mr. Kyle John or any other head of the department, there are ways and means to deal with it. I'm not going to get into a public tit for tat, especially in disrespectful manner, to deal with that thing. Like I said before many times, I've been in the union myself. I've represented workers on national, international, regional, on the top levels. And I can tell you that is not the way we deal with things. And I would not let myself be pulled to that level to deal with anything. Unions, I'll be the first to sit at the table with unions. But we're going to discuss in a respectable manner. We're going to respect each other, and we're going to discuss the issues that have to be discussed. And that is how I would deal with it.
Thank you. Anita Singh, the Daily Herald.
Thank you, Giselle. Good morning, ministers. Minister Emmanuel, we're having a serious influx of the sargassum seaweed again. It's as high as the 2015 levels. Can you say what's the contingency plan to remove the weed, especially from the highly touristic areas as well as the highly residential areas along the east and southern coasts of the island?
I would. Good morning to you, Alita. Good morning to everyone. I could swear that you was probably in the meeting with the Council of Ministers yesterday, because that was one of the questions that was asked. It's a natural phenomenon that we face this time of the year. Surprisingly, it's much more this year than it have been previous years before. I know that the department is out there and they're doing some cleanup. I've been out early Monday morning looking at it, and the advice is you have to leave it as it is for now, because it is so much. If you attempt to clean, for example, if you go out there 7 in the morning and clean the beach by 9 o'clock, it's going to be right back there again. So you have to leave it for at least a couple of days until it builds up, and then you clean one spot or you remove one spot. But it's not something that's going to be removed, simply not be there in a couple of days. It's a natural phenomenon that we face, especially on the eastern side of the island. So if you start from all the way French cul-de-sac, come all the way, Guana Bay, Pelican, not Pelican, Point Blanche, Bel Air. You will see a lot of it in that area. Again, it is something that the department is working with. They are removing some of it as it accumulates in large numbers, but we just got to go according to Mother Nature, and when she had enough of putting it there, then it will stop. But we're doing the best that we can do to remove as much as we can remove. But it's just what it is, part of nature.
CN.
Minister Lee, you spoke about health care for all. Do you see it in the near future that in St. Martin, health care is possible for everyone?
Absolutely, that's the goal. You know, in a sense, you know, we see it as government if there's individuals that have serious illnesses that don't have insurance. It eventually comes back to government to handle those expenditures, either in the form of PP cards or perhaps sometimes medical evacuations. So in a sense, the financial consequences for not having everyone properly insured comes back to government anyways. And that's why we want to structure it better. So with national health insurance, we're hoping to make sure that everybody, you know, we have a problem now in particular with people who are sole proprietors, right? Bus drivers, taxi drivers who have difficulty accessing health insurance. Right now, people who are above the SZV limit but have pre-existing conditions will find that purchasing private health insurance can be extremely expensive and not cover the things that they're ill with. So, you know, these are huge gaps in our system. When we work on national health insurance, there needs to be plans, investments made in preventative health care. You know, things like coronary heart disease, diabetes, if you diagnose it early, even HIV, AIDS, if you diagnose it early, there are treatments that would allow people to live long, healthy lives as long as you diagnose it early. So what are we doing in terms of preventative care, in terms of early intervention? All of those things are, number one, good for the health of the population, but also makes it more financially sustainable. It's much easier to treat people at early stages, much less expensive, and much better quality of life. So really it's about taking the resources we have now, pooling them together, and spending it wisely, and exactly with the idea of making sure that everybody has access to health care. Some of the tricks or some of the touchy discussions are going to be, you know, what's included in the package, right? Because eventually you need to see how you make sure the whole system is affordable and sustainable. Worldwide, for example, one of the topics that comes up is the feeling that the population needs to have some skin in the game, either in the form of a deductible or co-payment. It makes them more aware of what the healthcare costs are, and we need to put mechanisms in place to curb spending to make sure that, again, it's spent well and not wastefully. So if we do all of the right things, there's no reason that everybody shouldn't be able to have health insurance in St. Martin.
Thank you. Bibi?
Thank you, Giselle. I'm going to pose a question. I don't know if it's the Minister of Finance or the Minister of Justice who will answer this question, so either party can answer. Vehicular insurance for a government vehicle. Can you tell me if the insurance was paid and if all government vehicles have their insurance cards with them? Based on what I know, this did not happen because a vehicle belonging to government hit a vehicle for my child, and the police had to even issue a PV to the driver of the government vehicle because they could not produce an insurance. So do they have insurance? Was the insurance paid? If all of this is so, why doesn't these drivers of government vehicle have their insurance cards in their vehicle, including police?
All government vehicles have insurance coverage as per January 1st, 2017. So all government vehicles are covered and have insurance.
Can you answer the second part? If that's the case, why then all these drivers or all the vehicles doesn't have their insurance card? So when the police stop them, they can say, here's my proof of insurance.
Okay, that part I cannot answer. I would have to check that out and see exactly what the situation is. But I tend to agree with you that it should be able to show that the vehicles are insured, just like any other driver. But I would have to get back to you on that with that answer.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Alita.
Thank you again, Giselle. Minister Gibson, on the 8 million guilders received from the Development Fund, could you say what that money will be used for? Will it be used to service our debts, or is that money now that you're going to use for development projects?
It was projected in the budget 2017 that money would be received, so the budget has the expenditures which this will feed to pay for.
Mr. Brown.
Minister Fromey. Mr. Manuel, I think you should be congratulated. It seems, of course, you have been known now that you're practicing what you preach. Now, of course, you've been speaking the past weeks about the cleaning of the car wrecks, and now it is a reality. Now, and the dump self, their area that designated to put the wrecks, it's going to be a long term or just a short term?
Thank you for your question. Yes, I know we have been plagued recently with the condition of how it was looking on the main road, Swaliga Road, the entrance there to Baca that has the car wrecks. We did clean it up and remove it. We have designated a spot on the dump, on the landfill, for metal car wrecks, for concrete, for plywood, and different material that is being disposed of throughout the community. It's not a temporary solution as it is for now. That is where we will be locating car wrecks to get it out of the eyesight and from on the main road until a permanent solution is found, which we are working on right now. But for the moment, that is a location we will be placing all the car wrecks. And thank you very much for the compliment.
Yeah, Bibi.
Thank you, Giselle. And again, two ministers, one question, either party, but I think I'm going to focus on Minister Emmanuel. I heard the statement made by Minister Lee regarding rainforests and the training, etc., etc. Rainforest was supposed, I believe, scheduled for the opening this month, but I also know that they met with government and they were requested to do a lot of things. For example, filling the big trench that they dug in there and to provide more information to government. Can you tell me at this point in time if all that government asked Rainforest to do, if it was done, and if they provided the necessary information that government was lacking?
No, I will not provide you with that information because as we speak right now, the Council of Ministers and Rainforest is in discussion on a way forward. So to come here now and say that this has been done or this should be done will sort of be a bit immature at the moment. So I would not want to give out that information because we haven't finalized where we are moving forward and the direction and the things that should be done with Rainforest. I know the Minister of Education and the Cultural Department still have some things that they are going over. I believe they found a grave site also at the park. So to come now and say, well, this should be done and that should be done, I wouldn't do it at this moment, but I will get back to the media when we have finalized all the issues that we are having right now with Rainforest.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks again. Minister of Justice, Mr. Boseman, you spoke about training, especially the gap that could happen should the Marshalsea no longer provide services in Martin. You also spoke about the cooperation in the meaning of the Essen RSTA. Is there any contingency, for instance, for St. Martiners to join the Marshalsea? I understand you also want to train those that we have here locally, but at the same time to have them join the marechaussees so that when the marechaussees are sent to St. Martin, there are St. Martiners or people from the Dutch Caribbean in the marechaussees. That's one. Two, with the on the same level of training with the RST, are you satisfied with the level of St. Martin or Dutch Caribbean faces in that team?
Okay, yeah. First, joining the marechaussee. The marechaussee is a kingdom, sort of military police type of stuff. So it is not our local force. I guess if through the Netherlands, not via St. Martin, but if through the Netherlands, any local apply, they would go through the procedure to see if they could be hired or not. The marechaussee does not operate independent on St. Martin. The marechaussee is involved with the local police force. As a matter of fact, I must say that the cooperation with the marechaussee is very, very good. The marechaussee, for instance, the Alpha team on the airport, so the police team, that is a cooperation between the police force and the marechaussee. Marechaussee core task is basically border control. That is what they do also in the Netherlands, etc. They are border control. The prime task for border control lies with our police. So by working together in these teams, we have our local officers involved. One of the team leader on the airport, Mr. Maku, is a local in the Alpha team and what they're doing, and we have others working along with the Alpha team. How that selection goes as to who would be recruited and work along or put in whichever one of those teams, I don't have the exact information or detail with that, but that is done with the police chief and the other organization. The RST is something else. The RST is a detective group consistent of locals and European Dutch. So it is already a cooperation. That is what I said. And that seems to be, the cooperation seems to be going good. Where there was some kind of a confusion was when within the RST, this apart group was formed and taken out of the command chain of the RST. Now that has been corrected. Okay, but still, we would need to exactly to answer your question, that is why we would want to have an evaluation. We want to have an evaluation to see how is that process going. Are enough local detectives getting the opportunity, if so desired, to join the RST, and how that training possibility is going. So the evaluation would give us the answers to that question. But that is exactly a point of concern, concern in the sense that we want to know how that is going. But both marechaussee and RST is a combination, is joint. They're not working on their own on St. Martin.